Joining us now to discuss, Shan Wu, former federal prosecutor and a CNN legal analyst, and John Avlon, CNN senior political analyst. Shan, James Comey is not a disinterested participant in this discussion. I mean, let's stipulate that to begin with. However, he's a serious lawyer. He was deputy attorney general. His legal opinions count for something. What do you make of what he said last night?
Substantively, I completely agree with his take on those issues, including his take on Rosenstein's character at this point. I think Comey is such an interesting study in contrast. I mean, he's like the original sin in some of this, his role in the Clinton issue with the election, as well as his firing leading to this. I think he himself, not a corrupt man, very sharp lawyer, like you said, but his own Achilles heel, he's like a moth drawn to the flame when it comes to wanting to be in the center of the attention. And I think that's when you listen to him, you have to take that with like a grain of salt. But analytically, I agree with his positions.
The way he framed it, I mean, I think that it's interesting to hear you say that he likes to, I guess, be relevant and in the middle of the action. The way he framed it in comparison to Robert Mueller's choices, he said sometimes when you're trying to do the right and honorable thing, people misinterpret what you're doing, and I have some experience with that.
Yes, that's clearly some projection going on. I mean, first, I'd say to Shan's point, there's never been a prosecutor in the history of the country that enjoys the spotlight. I'd be shocked to hear you say that. I can think of Rudy Giuliani and Chris Christie, for example. Second of all, look, I mean, Comey, I think, feels tortured because he did try to do the right thing and feels like he was hung out to try to do it. And I think he sees an echo of that perhaps in the Mueller report. What's so striking to me isn't just his statements that absolutely coincide with that 600 former Justice Department federal prosecutors, the letter they signed, but his really harsh words for Bill Barr as well.
We have that. Yeah. Let's listen to what he thinks of Bill Barr's reputation.
I think he acted in a way that's less than honorable in the way he described it in writing and described it during a press conference, and continues to talk as if he's the president's lawyer. That is not the Attorney General's job. It doesn't make me happy to say this, but I think he has lost most of his reputation with the way he's conducted himself.
And look, remember, when Barr was appointed, Comey said, we got to, give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a respected guy. He's regarded as a serious lawyer. And because Trump didn't appoint a Chris Kobach, people greeted Barr with a lot of hope that it would lead to a professionalization. But that, I think, also sums up and crystallizes a lot of the conventional wisdom appropriately about Bill Barr, which is he's acting like the president's lawyer. And he's ruined his reputation, but to what end?
Right. I think, all of us wanted to give Barr that benefit of the doubt. I mean, he'd been the AG previously. Yeah. Had a solid reputation, and personally, I've been quite stunned to see just how blatantly his behavior has been. So I think that does hurt his reputation. But obviously, he doesn't care too much about his legacy at this point.
I want to play one other moment from James Comey last night, because Comey's been doing interviews since his book came out, and he's been saying this type of thing before, and it has to do about whether he believes the Russians have something, maybe that infamous tape, on Donald Trump. Listen.
Do you think the Russians have leverage over President Trump?
I don't know the answer to that.
You think it's possible?
Yes.
John?
I mean, look, that was not a hesitation, and it's a question about influence, not salacious details, but influence. And it's one of the reasons why it's appropriate to still delve into questions about the money trail, whether he was taking money from Russians. I mean, the report clearly establishes no coordination or conspiracy directly prosecutable with the Russians. It obviously demonstrated a real fact pattern. But the fact there's that open question, why does the president have such fealty to Vladimir Putin, where he refuses to criticize him, which we saw again in sort of the obsequious accounts of our phone call from last week, is an open question. And again, Comey is not a partisan figure, though he tries to be twisted that way by the president. He and Mueller and other folks are lifelong Republicans and law enforcement figures. So lest we forget, this is not a simple, reflexive Democrat-Republican fight. This is about something deeper.
One last thing that I thought was really interesting is that Anderson brought up the dossier, because that's getting so much attention. And as you know, Republicans and the White House are now trying to turn all the investigations away from them and to what the origin of the dossier was. And James Comey reminded viewers that the FBI actually corroborated much of what was in the dossier. When they got it, the FBI never just takes something wholesale and goes, well, this must be true. They're investigators. And so they got this stuff, and they worked over months, and they corroborated much of it. But he admitted to, he told the president what they couldn't corroborate that was in there, which is some of the more salacious stuff. And he's always been upfront about that. And I think it's just important to remind them, because we are watching them be off to the races with trying to investigate the investigators.
Yeah, and I think, Comey is really a master of the two phrases, "I don't know the answer to that," combined with the yes on the follow-up, which really sounds like he's implying that he does know the answer and we should all be curious about it. I think those are some of the questions, if Mueller does testify, to follow up on some of these missing pieces, what they didn't finish chasing down.
The dossier, the main point was the Russians are trying to hack the election, trying to attack the election.
And they've corroborated that as true.
Right?
Yeah, turns out.
Right.
All right, Shan Wu, John Avlon, thank you very much.